The sun hung low in the sky, casting golden light over the sprawling estate of the Ashford Manor. Among the neatly trimmed hedges, blooming roses, and towering oaks, Nathaniel Gray worked tirelessly, his calloused hands nurturing every flower as if each were a treasure. Nathaniel wasn't merely a gardener, he was an artist, painting the world with petals and leaves. Every morning, before the rest of the manor stirred, he wandered into the garden, inhaling the scent of damp earth and fresh blossoms, feeling the pulse of life beneath his fingers. But there was one flower he cherished above all others, Lady Eleanor Ashford. She was the daughter of Lord Ashford, a nobleman whose wealth stretched beyond what Nathaniel could comprehend. Eleanor had eyes the color of violets and a smile that could soften even the most bitter of winters. She loved the garden, often escaping to the floral sanctuary Nathaniel had created, finding solace among the flowers. They had met when she was just a girl of 10, running barefoot through the garden, giggling as she plucked daisies. Nathaniel, only 5 years older, had scolded her for pulling the flowers without care. "If you pluck them all, my lady, what will be left to bloom tomorrow?" he had asked. Eleanor had tilted her head, considering his words. "Then I shall plant more." And she had. That very afternoon she had knelt beside him, hands buried in the soil, as they planted new seedlings together. It was their first secret, a bond forged in earth and petals. Years passed, and Eleanor grew into a striking young woman, her laughter ringing through the estate like a melody. Nathaniel, too, had changed. He was no longer the boy who scolded her for plucking daisies. He was a man who watched her from the shadows, knowing his love for her was a dream he dared not speak aloud. But love, like the most tenacious of vines, finds a way to grow. One evening, as twilight painted the sky in shades of lavender and rose, Eleanor found Nathaniel tending to a row of white lilies. She approached him with a gentle smile, her silk gown brushing against the grass. "Why do you always work so late, Nathaniel?" He hesitated, gripping his spade. "The flowers deserve care, my lady." She knelt beside him, her delicate fingers tracing the edge of a petal. "I think you care for them more than you care for yourself." Nathaniel dared to meet her gaze, and for the first time he saw something there, something that made his heart race. "What if I said I care for more than just the flowers?" he murmured, his voice barely above a whisper. Eleanor's breath hitched. "Then I would ask if you care for me." Silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft rustling of the wind through the leaves. Nathaniel swallowed hard, knowing that one wrong word could break everything. "Yes," he finally admitted, "more than anything." Eleanor reached for his hand, unbothered by the dirt beneath his nails, the roughness of his palms. "Then we have a problem, don't we?" Their love was forbidden. An invisible wall stood between them, built from titles and expectations. Lord Ashford had plans for Eleanor, suitors lined up from noble families, men who could offer her wealth and status. What could a gardener give her? And yet, she came to him every night. Under the moon's gentle glow, they met in the garden, their love growing in the quiet spaces between words. Nathaniel would weave flowers into her hair, whispering secrets of the earth, while Eleanor traced his fingers, memorizing the hands that had built her sanctuary. But happiness is fleeting for those who love beyond their station. One evening, as they sat beneath the great willow tree, Eleanor trembling in Nathaniel's arms, she whispered, "Father has chosen a husband for me." Nathaniel stiffened. "Who? Lord Whitmore." The name was bitter on her tongue. "He is twice my age and cares only for my dowry." A storm brewed in Nathaniel's chest. The thought of Eleanor in another man's arms, her laughter stolen, her spirit caged, it was unbearable. "Run away with me," he said, grasping her hands. "We'll leave tonight. I'll find work. We'll have a home, a small one, but with a garden, Eleanor. A garden just for you." Her eyes filled with tears. If only love were enough. He kissed her then, tasting salt and sorrow, knowing that dawn would steal her from him. And it did. The next morning, Nathaniel stood in the garden, his hands clenched into fists as carriages arrived. Eleanor was dressed in pale blue, her face ghostly beneath her veil. She looked at him once, just once, as she was led away. Days turned to weeks, and winter arrived, burying the garden in frost. Nathaniel remained, tending to the flowers that no longer seemed to bloom as brightly. He wrote letters he never sent, whispering his love to the roses that still held her scent. Years passed, and rumors came and went. Lord Whitmore had fallen ill. Eleanor was now a widow, but grief had hollowed her, leaving behind only a shadow of the girl who once danced among the daisies. One evening, as Nathaniel tended to a patch of violets, he heard footsteps, light and familiar. He turned, and there she was, older perhaps, but still Eleanor. Her voice trembled. "Did you ever plant our garden?" Nathaniel swallowed the lump in his throat. "I never stopped." She stepped forward, taking his hand, the same hand she had held years ago beneath the moon. And this time, there were no titles, no barriers, only love, blooming at last.